we get started?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay, great. So we can go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody. I want to go ahead and just introduce Mr. Paul Kabodi, who will intro our meeting this evening. He's one of our Hopi Foundation Board of Trustees member. And we'll go ahead and get started and not waste any more time here. So go ahead, Paul.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Paul Kabodi, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Yan Haki. Paamatoja yan Hopi Matsewa, ya itam honan mungwa, Santa Clara Kitso Kilang. Songopavi, ina songopavi, ina novav, nova, novang yang muy, songopavi. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our annual meeting of the Hopi Foundation. This is a particularly momentous gathering because, as you know, at this time, I'm sure all of you know, but at this moment that we are in a transition period. Monica Nuvamsa is transitioning out of her position as executive director for the Hopi Foundation, and Hannah Honani has been offered and accepted the position of executive director, which she will assume fully in the first part of next year, 2025. Currently, Hannah Honani is our acting executive director, and I'm very, very pleased. And on speaking on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we are very excited about what the future holds with Hannah coming on board. So I just want to, first of all, just acknowledge Hannah and welcome you as our new and up and coming executive director and leader for the organization.
Thank you.
I want to so could we go ahead and go to the next slide? The Hopi Foundation is almost 40 years old, and I want to acknowledge the people who have been part of its history, some of the significant people who have been part of its history. We had 5 founders who came together and came up with the concept and the idea and did the work to actually create the organization. Dr. Rob Robin, Floyd Lomakui Vaya, Doran Dalton, Patrick Lomoaima, and Berdina Polaka. And I'd like to create the opportunity for those members who are here to just give a quick introduction. Doran Dalton, I think you were on the call tonight. If you could you just say a greeting, your name, what village you're from, and just a sentence or two greeting to everybody. Oh, is everybody muted on the call?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
You might not be able to.
Okay. Well, I just want to acknowledge, I believe Doran is on the call tonight, and Berdina Polaka may also be on the call tonight. She's one of our founding members. We have the following members. The members are part of the organization who hold the authority to hire and to hire the board. The Hopi Foundation has a unique structure, and part of that structure is we don't just have a board of trustees, we have a membership, and the membership are the ones who the board is accountable for to when we put forward our interest in becoming a board member. So the current members of the Hopi Foundation include Doran Dalton, Myrna Pavatia, Barbara Poli, and Berdina Polaka. And again, I want to acknowledge you those of you who are on the call, Doran, Myrna, Barbara, and Berdina, if you're here. And yes.
Go ahead.
Past members include Floyd Lamak Guivaya, Patrick Lomoaima, Philip Dualetstewa, and our current body of trustees. And it sounds like our trustees may not have the opportunity to announce themselves as well, but they are on the phone call as well. There's myself, Chairman Paul Kabodi. We have Carrie Green, who is our Vice Chairman, Pat Sikakwaptewa, who's currently our Secretary, Bruce Talawaima, and our newest trustee, Elena Nauri, who's brand new on board and had her first board meeting last month. So welcome everyone and the trustees. Next slide, please. And here's everybody's picture on the board of trustees: myself, Carrie, Pat, Bruce, and Elena. If you would go to the next slide. So the Hopi Foundation was created to build community empowerment. And the mission of the Hopi Foundation, which is actually the name of the Hopi Foundation in Hopi, which Doran Dalton tells the very good story about how it all started. Lomasamit ng tuksio mani. That seed which is going to get tended to, and all of us are coming together in a good way to tend to it and nurture it and grow it into full maturity over time so it bears fruit. The purpose of the mission of the organization is twofold: to invest in community-based initiatives that support the vision of a thriving society, and also to preserve the values of what makes us each Hopi in the process. So whether it's growing services from a seed or investing in the field of ideas in the community to a mature plant, or nurturing the knowledge and experience of our people to support positive impact. That's what Hopi's about. Hopi Foundation is about. If you would go to the next slide. Okay. So when Doran tells the story of the Hopi Foundation and how it got started, it's really a powerful story. It was about creating an organization that was going to provide good things for the people out in Hopi and not be dependent on services from the Hopi tribal government. And he talks about how it took a long time for it to come together. It took years of talking and planning and working before they even started the organization. it reminds me, if any of you have seen that Lord of the Rings, those tree characters that it takes a long time to talk about something that's really important. And if it's not important enough to talk about it for a long time, it's not worth talking about. That's what it was like for me. And I think of Hopi Foundation as like, it's not a 501c3 like I've seen in other places where they create a nonprofit and then they try to infuse their cultural values into it. I see the Hopi Foundation as a solidly Hopi entity that was created in a very Hopi way. And then the 501c3 was kind of wrapped around it in order to get the resources in the way that we do it in America. But the organization itself is a really solidly Hopi organization. So the second paragraph on this is that kind of tied to that name of Lomasumit Nangutuksu Mani, from growing our services from a seed or investing in the field of ideas in the community to a mature plant, we nurture the knowledge and experiences of our people to support a positive impact. So go ahead and go to the next slide, if you will. Excuse me. Our community assets. So the Hopi Foundation, as you can see from this diagram, the heart of the Hopi Foundation is that spiritual, that cultural foundation, and all of the facets of the organization that support the work that Hopi does, the Hopi Foundation does. Learning and understanding our community's needs allows us to approach our work with purpose and to ensure we continue to match our community's vision for the future. We include interested members as resources to help us stay strong in this understanding and place them in roles to advise our programming and become involved in teaching and sharing of knowledge. You can see in the diagram just all of the different facets and how they play into what the Hopi Foundation does. And I'm not going to necessarily read all of those, but I just wanted to give you that overall high-level picture of the foundation, where it is, and how it started. I also want to acknowledge that over this almost 40-year history of the organization, we have had 3 executive directors. The very first one was Dr. Rob Robbins. The second one was Barbara Poley, who did some very significant work in growing the organization from a very small, modest organization as a startup and brought it to a level of really providing meaningful services to out in Hopi. And then Monica Nuvamsa, who took it from Barbara, who handed it over to Monica and has grown it to where it's at today. So we look forward to Hannah to be taking us to the next tier of the foundation, whatever that will be, and guide us through the next part of the work. So I am just really thankful to every one of you who has been who continue to be part of the Hopi Foundation, who has been part of the growth and the development and work and your support of the foundation over the years, staff, partners, community, anyone who engages with the Hopi Foundation and who have been part of building the foundation. And continue to be involved and interested in what the foundation is doing. Just thank you so much for everything you're doing. And I'm really looking forward to where we're going with the foundation. So yang halak yang yani. Let's enjoy ourselves as we gather here today. And I'm going to hand it over to Hannah, who's going to introduce to us the next person. Hannah.
All right, thank you, Carl. Good evening, everyone. Again, I just want to briefly introduce myself. Askwali pibasi yan Hopi matiwani kyang hana hanani yan pahan matiwani. Sa tumo bi ang hospo I'm really excited and elated that you all could join us this evening, both online and in person here. I hope you enjoyed the meal. I wanted to extend my gratitude to my Dr. Rob Robin, Barbara Poley, and then Monica Nubamsa, and now myself. And so I'm really looking forward to what I can bring as far as my skill set, knowledge, and expertise. I kind of grew up in the Hopi Foundation. I started off in 2014 as a youth liaison for the Hopi Opportunity Youth Initiative, and since then have grown into the various levels of leadership through a program associate, program manager, and then into the admin level of leadership as a associate operations director and then an operations director. So there's definitely learning that I've gained along the journey in my professional career, and now this is another step up to that in bringing on both talent that I am able to work with today, but also being able to collaborate more with my community in which I've come from and learned to navigate through this work that we do. And a lot of what's happened over the years is that, this work is not completely foreign to us. It's part of our everyday life, but how do we translate that into making a broader impact for our community? So I'm really thankful to have the mentorship, guidance, and leadership that I've had so far. And now being in this role to carry it forward along with the team that you see sitting up here tonight. And you'll get to hear from them how, what kind of impact they made, but what it takes to continue to sustain the work that we all do in the various areas that we work in. And so I'm really lucky to have the team that I do have with me, and I'm looking forward to growing even more. So again, I just want to acknowledge that and then move on with our agenda and bringing on Miss Myrna Pabatia, who is a HF member. She served as a board of trustee from 1996 to 2004 and has been a member since 2005 up to this point. And so again, she'll be sharing some founding history and knowledge from her perspective and telling a story about, her contributions to what the Hopi Foundation is today. We try to kind of rotate that story through the members every year. And so I've been tracking her down so that she can be here to share that with us this evening. We've heard from Doran before, we've heard from Barbara, we've heard from various other members. And so she's one that I've been, like I said, tracking down and wanting to bring her here today to actually meet some of the staff, but also get to share her perspective and contributions to where we are. Great. So without further ado, I want to just go ahead and turn the mic over to Ms. Myrna Pavatia, who will share, her, again, founding experience and being a part of the team that has created the Hopi Foundation, from her perspective. So, Myrna?
Good evening. My name's Myrna Pavatia, and I'm from the village of Sijamuvi. I'm a Horn clan. Most of you probably know my sister, Priscilla Pavatia, who works for the tribe. I just recently moved back after retiring from the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community as their division director for their tribal behavior health program. I too, as Hannah was explaining, grew from a 17 people organization to 78 when I left. And it was a 24/7 with 24-hour crisis intervention, a detox, and an inpatient rehabilitation facility for substance abuse. So I can understand some of the things that she's going to be or already has been experiencing stepping into a very significant position of leadership for this organization. One of the things that Hannah and I spoke about yesterday was some of the founding history from my own perspective. I learned about the Hopi Foundation from Doran. Doran was really significant in my understanding about what the Hopi Foundation was going to be moving towards. Because it was just a new organization and it was still in the process of growing. So he introduced that to me. I already knew Doran prior to this. In terms of he was a former classmate. So that made whatever he was sharing with me, the vision, mission, purpose was very interesting in terms of what I was thinking and how I myself personally and professionally wanted to move forward. I think one of the things that sparked my interest also was as a social worker at the Phoenix Indian Medical Center, I had begun working with the pediatric doctors there, learning about the medical needs of our clientele. And one of the things that they got me involved in is coming from a native professional perspective on how I saw the medical issues, learning about the data to support the medical issues that were there and the services that was needed and why we were going to different organizations within the Phoenix metropolitan area to ask for additional funding for special projects. I didn't know I was doing philanthropy at that time. Didn't understand what philanthropy was. So Barbara, when I met Barbara, she was the one to educate me. She was also the one to help teach me at a broader perspective what philanthropy was, what fundraising was, and how to set out missions and visions. And she helped me learn those areas by setting up some training. So I actually went down, because I was in Phoenix at that time, to the Children's Foundation and actually work and shadow people there, as well as attending their training sessions there to understand so that I could be a active person in what the foundation was going to be doing. You know, the organization itself also, through Barbara and Doran, introduced me to the other founding members and board of trustees. And I think one of the things that I took away from that was our ability to share with one another our thoughts, our ideas. How can it fit into a plan? Can it work, or do we need to tweak it more in order to be able to be more active and to be successful at whatever we're doing under the organization? And so I think, you know, as I moved forward, we did face challenges. I think a current challenge is always, where is a solid home? Where is a permanent home for the Hopi Foundation? That has always been a goal, and I hope in sometime in the future that we're able to succeed in establishing a permanent home for the foundation. The other thing that drew me to the foundation is the concept of self-sufficiency. We as Hopi people need to take care of ourselves. We as Hopi people have the skills, knowledge, and ability to put into perspective what our needs are and what our goals are, not chasing after what we need to accomplish based upon somebody else's objective. And I think that's really an important area. The other part that really drew me in was community partnership. Community, all of our projects under the Hopi Foundation have always involved the community in different levels and different aspects. And that's what I like, being with people, working with people, getting people to act so that we as a group can be more self-sufficient. The other thing that the organization drew on was self-determination. We as Hopi people would make our decisions and take action as the way we saw fit based upon what we put in place. I think, you know, there were long nights when we met together, Doran, Berdina, Philip, Pat, Robin, talking, staying up way into the wee hours of the morning, just brainstorming, just sharing with each other our perspectives for our issues, or talking about barriers and getting ideas from each other in terms of how could we overcome those areas in order to be more successful. I think through those discussions and that time spent with each other, the other thing that developed was strong bonded friendships between each other, and the respect that we had for each other's to be able to throw ideas out and communicate and ask for solutions to a problem that we might have. I think one of the other things that the foundation brought to mind was several areas in terms of what I really was impacted by over the years with Hopi Foundation. The Barbara Trester Award was really significant in me understanding more about people from other countries, the issues that were faced by these other people. And oftentimes it surrounded injustice done to these people. And so the awardees who receive these awards and the ability to interact with them was really eye-opening. I remember one clear award, and that was one of the doctors from Guatemala who won the award. But on my way into Winslow, that was the time that the war was just starting, I passed a train full of military equipment. It was really shocking to see it, but also when I finally got to the ceremony and listened to the speaker, I had more of an in-depth understanding about what he was faced with and the injustice done to his people. So that made a big impact on me. The other one was the Owl and Panther program. It's a center located in Tucson. It was for refugees who were running from countries where there was war or inhumane action was being taken against them. These little children, a lot of it were children, were healing through artwork, song, dance, the telling of their stories, the publication of a little book about their healing process. It was just amazing how these children were going through the healing process. And with that, I think it also helped their parents who had been experiencing this over a prolonged period of time. And it really made an impact on me to see how those children healed and to think about my work as a social worker on how I could help children heal from past traumas when I was working in behavioral health and doing social work. The other area that made impact on me was it's now the Hopi dictionary. Dr. Emery Sekekotiwa was at U of A, and I initially started my college career at the University of Arizona. And there were a few Hopis there, and he would feed us. That was the draw, and we were always hungry. So he would feed us, but he would brainstorm with us our various dialects on words that we say, not realizing that the development of this Hopi dictionary would come to be. And when I got my copy of the Hopi dictionary, I was very pleased because I knew as a young student, I contributed to that. The other thing is one of the things that the Hopi Foundation is also really good at is developing partnerships. A project that the Hopi Foundation did was to bring Zuni stone cutters here. And that eventually assisted in the clan house and Piki house restorations. But to learn a skill that Hopi had, but was slowly losing, to bring those cutters, Zuni stone cutters back, was really, really vital in revitalizing a tradition that Hopi did. And I think, you know, that was, I see the restoration of houses and the use of stone. So I think, you know, it's really been impactful. The other area was solar electric enterprise. That's where I got the opportunity to not only learn from Doran about what solar was, advocate for solar, understand what solar was. But I also had my first meeting with Joan Tomichi. Joan Tomichi had a significant impact on me with regards to her leadership and her ability to communicate at various levels. That really impressed me. And I'm really pleased to know her and acknowledge that, you know, she's at the University of Arizona and she has made an impact on me. The other area I would like to touch base on is where do we go from here? I would encourage you to all support your new leadership. You know, one of the things that I've experienced is I've gone through multiple tribal administrators who I report to. And change sometimes can be hard. Change can sometimes be unsettling. But with change, it also increases your ability to learn. It also increases your skill to be able to be adapted at various different levels in order to be successful. So I would encourage you to support your new administrator here. I think, the areas that I see, I'm now retired, so I see all these young faces. And I'm so glad to see young faces because they can have all the stress I used to have. Somebody needs to take on stress. But I hope they take care of themselves. But I really appreciate their insight because I tell everybody that I do not stop learning. I'm learning every day, and I'm learning from these young people on what it is for the future, and I really appreciate their input. And so I want to say, Askwali, I'm glad to be here finally. I also just traveled. I was sharing with Beatrice. And that's another thing about getting old, you kind of forget things. But I was just sharing with Beatrice, I said, I can get up and go. And I've been traveling and going places I've never gone before because it was always work, 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 work. I don't answer to nobody except myself. And so I appreciate that. So Askwali.
Thank you, Myrna, Askwali. Thank you for being here and sharing. We can continue moving on. So my next, not working now. Oh, so really quickly before we get into, I guess the meat of why we're here and why we want to present, what we like to share with you all as far as our financial health report, but our upcoming events and what we've been able to accomplish so far. This is the team I get to work with. We have Monica Nabumsa on the far, what is that, your left, the current executive director, myself, she's actually on a sabbatical right now. She'll be back in a couple more months, so we're nearing the end of the first month without her, so kudos to us, right? We're here. Then myself, interim executive director, we have Stacy K, who's our program director, so she's actually our liaison between the programs and their staff, and then the leadership team that you see pictured up here. So she helps to communicate with us for them. But at the same time, we all continue to work together regardless. And then we have Angel Aveda, who's our associate operations director. So she handles a lot of the day-to-day ops and the HR and hiring and recruitment for us. Renelda Jackson, who is our controller, she's the one and only in our finance department. So again, kudos to her because she helps to keep our money bags afloat, if you will. And then Cody Honani, who's our development manager. So every time you see that word development, think fundraising. He helps us to fundraise. He brings in strategies and ways in which we can be creative and innovative and how we bring donors and educate them on the work. If it's not them giving their time or money, it's getting the opportunity to educate them on what we do, how we do it, and how they can become involved. And so a lot of the marketing and content that goes out comes from him and his team. His second teammate is Sienna Sekiva. She's our marketing coordinator. So a lot of the stuff you see on social media, that's her creation to help, again, educate, but also be transparent about what we're doing, all of our activities, our events, and posting our, our newsletters. And then last but not least, the first person you see when you walk into our office is Miss Deanna Ortiz. So she's happy to help you when you walk into our office. She'll triage phone calls to whoever needs to address them. So thank you to my team. This is who we are. This is what keeps our boat afloat. So Next is our program leadership. So you'll get to hear from these individuals this evening. We have Samantha Honani, who's the KUYI General Manager for the radio station. Brian Hamitua, who's our Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center Program Manager. Kyle Nithamia, who's our Natwani Coalition Program Manager, and then Cliff K, who's our Hopi Leadership Program Manager. So you'll get to hear from them all this evening, and then they'll get to introduce themselves a little bit more. But before we jump into actually sharing and being transparent with you about our financial health and where we're going, what we're doing, what we're up to, is I really want to share the cycle of growth. And as Paul was talking and Myrna was talking, I really feel like this is probably the process that they went through to establish the foundation and understand what it takes to get to where it's at today. We had to go through these stages, and this cycle is never ending. As our program managers know, every year it changes. We could be at stage 1, the next year we could be at stage 5. And it really depends on the capacity of our staff, the time they have to put, to do the work, but also the resources it takes to keep it sustainable. And so every year we're assessing, what does this look like for us? And it contributes to the reports that you're going to see later on. This helps us to evaluate our current capacity of program staff, our community advisory boards, or for short, we call them CABs, our board members, our board of trustees, our donors, and our volunteers. The cycle of growth model defines the stages that help our programs understand strength of their capacity to fulfill their mission and purpose. So there's 6 stages. We're gonna go counterclockwise. The first one is envision and commit. So this takes a lot of visioning, affirming shared values. So like Myrna was talking about, you have a team or a group of people that come together, they have a similar idea, but they all have different ways of getting to that solution, right? Or getting to that goal. And so it's again affirming what are our shared values to be able to still meet the goal, right? Or be able to get there. And then exploring options for organizing. What is it going to look like? How are we going to do this? Who's going to be involved? So that's the first stage. The second stage is the startup and launch. So you're actually moving and doing the work. It starts very prematurely with mission building. So again, what's our purpose and common goal? What are the things we want to address? Seeking funding for operations. So I remember, I believe it was last year, when we had a board member or a member share with us the founding history, talking about the first 2 staff that the Hopi Foundation had. They had to fundraise for themselves, right? They had to be able to pay their way to do the work. And so they were, hustling, if you will, to make those resources to pay themselves. But I know that they've also volunteered a chunk of their time so that they can build that into their budget and keep it sustaining. Establishing roles and procedures. So again, it's really moving toward that formalizing of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. How are you going to be accountable for the resources that you're bringing in? And then planning. What does our planning look like from year to year, month to month, every week? How are we going to accomplish the goals we set out for ourselves? Stage 3 is the grow and deliver stage. And this stage is part of the development that shows establishment and clear structure. So an establishment could be, having a physical space to operate out of, and clear structure and role. So who's doing what? How are they doing that? And then steps to take in this stage include leadership, sustainability, and planning. So again, leadership is development and planning. Sustainability is the growth of your resources. How are we gonna fund this to do the work? Planning is focused program outcomes. How are we gonna get to our goals? And so you'll hear from a lot of our programs how we have strategic plans in place. And how do we follow that and stay in alignment with achieving the goals that we said we were gonna do. Stage 4 is specialize and control. This requires staff growth and hiring. So again, as you understand what your goals, vision, mission, and purpose is, okay, now how do we bring in the help? How do we bring in the talent, the skill set to be able to accomplish our goal. And it decentralizing, so again, decision-making from key leadership staff. And then again, strategic planning, so that's always interwoven into everything you do so that you don't stray too far from what you're doing. And I understand that a lot of our, when small businesses get started, we want to do everything, right? We get so motivated, we get so excited about what we want to do that we want to try to do everything and then we burn out. And so it's really trying to be strategic about what you're doing and in alignment with your mission and vision. Stage 5 is delegate and evaluate. So again, as your team gets bigger, you have these specialized roles that you're incorporating in the work. And I'm happy to say that coming into this role as an interim executive director, this has been set up for me. I have a team that can do fundraising, that can do finance, that can do HR. I have people in those pockets that I can rely on, so I'm not doing it myself. Whereas Barbara, Monica, they were the sole person that was doing that work. And it's a lot of plates to carry, it's a lot of juggling, a lot of time and commitment outside of the normal 8 to 5 hours. And so now inheriting that, and I really commend Monica for really building that out for us, because now, like I said, I'm able to hire the skill set and talent to do that work. And we're all, you know, we have our specialized role that we function from. The last one is stage 6, which is the renew and rebuild. So it's reviewing what you've already accomplished. So this is again where we renew our strategic plan. Whether it's 5 years or 10 years, we review what's changed, what are the significant impacts coming from our environment that we work in, you know, what's happening in our community that's changing the trajectory of our work. How are people growing? How are they thriving? That's changed, like COVID. How do we move to adapt to that? Or how do we move to be flexible to still address what they're needing as a community? And then renew and commit. Part of that is, okay, we understand that this is happening in our community. What is my commitment to continue to do the work, to be a part of it, to be involved, to fundraise, to keep it sustainable? And then you rebuild. This is where we're adapting to how our community is changing. As you heard before, you know, Myrna said she sees young faces. Thank you for that. But it does require, right? It's a generational transition that we're experiencing all over. And I really want to encourage our community to kind of see how we can support that, because I myself am always saying that I'm going to grow myself out of this job. I'm not going to be here forever. And I said it every time that I transition into different leadership roles, because I can't do this forever. That's impossible, right? So that's where the last stage of just rebuilding. What is our commitment? How are we going to do this? What's changed? And it could be anything from the human capacity that you have to the technology that's ever changing. So you'll get to hear a little bit more about how that's affecting all of our programs in different ways. So like tonight, I could give you an example. We're using Starlink just so that we could be connected. You know, we've never had Starlink before. So it's those kind of impacts that also play a role in how we do our work. So every year we utilize this chart to evaluate where we are, and it helps to identify and understand what internal and external factors contribute to where we are in the cycle. And like I said, it's never the same. It's always different, because I could say that one program lost 2-3 staff and there's just one, you know, so it really changes where we're at in that. But we have tools, we have guidance, we have best practices to address those and to be able to continue moving forward. And it helps us understand how we can contribute and align our efforts to use our strategic plans, our financial health reports, and our fundraising strategies that contribute to sustainability, growth, and impact. We want to make sure we continue our impact in the community. So this is one assessment we go through every year. And product of this assessment is what we're all gonna be presenting to you this evening. So again, jumping into our, the Hopi Foundation as the admin and development team, this is our 3-year funding history. And you see the trajectory of the gray line being our year to date. The orange line being the fundraising goal. So these are goals we set every year during our budget development process. And then the blue line is our operating budget. And so you see we're clearly operating within those goals and within our capacity that we have right now. And you'll see in 2022, we had a significant amount of funding. And that was just as we were coming out of COVID. So again, I'm talking about those environmental factors that play into how we were able to fundraise. But a lot of that went back out in the community through our regranting through the emergency relief fund. We were able to give to villages, nonprofits, and then our artist community. We were able to secure a grant to help our artists and self-employed folks through a grant because again, as you saw through COVID, everything was shut down. You know, nobody could go anywhere. So how do we sustain that population? That's because that was their form of income, right? You have people visiting the reservation to buy their artwork, to buy different things, jewelry. So that was one way we were able to give back and help to an extent. And then as you recall, we stood up a physical operation of the Hopi Emergency Relief Fund, and Sam was a co-lead to myself, and we were able to secure funding and utilize that funding to purchase goods for our community. So Cody was actually one of the ones that helped to distribute to the community. So again, organizing, coordinating, and building partnerships with other like nonprofits to do these distributions, whether it was food or PPE. And then the team also volunteered their time to help the Hopi Healthcare Center do their drives that they were doing, whether it was the shots or, just, helping in any way that they could. And so that was one year that, was really heavy for us. And that's also the year that we closed, or that we kind of, ended the Hopi Emergency Relief Fund as far as the physical operation. And so coming into 2023 was actually a year where we could stabilize and refocus our efforts on our programs and our own day-to-day operations as a nonprofit. During that time, we really just kind of halted programming and focused on standing up the operation and focusing on that because our community needed help. So right now, I want to say that when we come around to this time next year, you'll see a better trajectory of it being sustainable again, and ensuring that we're on the right path financially and in a healthy manner. So again, to break down our operating budget, this is how our resources are broken down. Majority of it goes to personnel. So again, our staff time, contract services are in the yellow, travels at 3%, business ops. So business ops, occupancy are all areas where we, need to keep the lights on, keep the bills paid, our utilities paid, and then our program direct expenses are anything that goes toward us making impact in the community. The next one is a breakdown of our fundraising goal. These are contributions that come from our donors. Fundraising comes from merch, anything that you see like on our online store. If you're familiar, you'll see our merch on there. And then half of this pie, about half, comes from grants. And then we also have endowments that are for our seasonal projects. Myrna touched on one of them, was the Barbara Chester. And so those are investments made so that they continue to grow and we don't touch them over time. And so one of those endowments includes a admin fund, so that in the event of any crises that we need to sustain programming for 6 months, we have that funding to do so. Contracts and fee for services, those all come from our capacity building program where we provide our community with training, whether it be board governance or facilitation training. And then our carryover is something that is called our unrestricted fund. So it carries over year to year. We don't always use it all, but it's something we want to continue to sustain and have it as a pot of funding to contribute every year so that we have that additional resource coming in. And then lastly is our 2024 year. So in the top portion, you'll see that this is what we've been able to accomplish so far. We look to celebrate our 37th year. We're in our 37th year of being an organization. Earlier this year, around May, I want to say, we hosted our founding members, like a meeting. It was a chance for them to gather, to get reacquainted with one another, see each other, because again, COVID, we were isolated. So it's again, a time for them to renew their commitments, to hopefully walk away feeling inspired again, about where we've been and sharing updates with them, and then strengthening the commitment that they have to the mission of the Hopi Foundation. And I'm really appreciative that a couple of them could be here in person with us this evening. So again, thank you ladies for being here. And then internally, we're upgrading our financial software. So again, this is part of those factors that contribute to how we grow. We need it to be more efficient. We need it to be flexible in a manner that can support our programs and all our grants, donations, things that come in. And so this was a huge upgrade for us. And right now the manning the software and making sure that it works really well for us. Second, the next bullet point is succession planning. We're actually in the midst of it right now. We're in the physical part, I guess. To speak to it a little bit, it's been about 2 or 3 years in the making, of talking with Monica, mentoring, getting to see what she does on a daily basis, but also trying to grow in my own leaderships and making it my own. And so now that we're in the physical, where she's not here with us every day, for about 3 months, and then next year she'll completely step away. And so that's where we're at right now. And then the next one is cultivate new connections with donors and foundations. So over the last 2 years that I've seen, we've been able to connect with new foundations that are forming. Some of them are spend down, what they call spend down foundations. They inherit a bunch of money. They're looking for people or foundations to give it to. And so we've had the unique opportunity to meet these folks. They found us, or word of mouth, so it's really interesting. And Cody can share, if you want to pick his brain about how people find us. Crazy. I'm really fortunate to be a part of those stories and to hear, how people found us. They know members, they know Doran, and they're like, oh, hey, I know this person, and I want to come meet you guys. And that's always something we I guess encourage folks that want to give, is for them to come and see us first, to see what kind of community we have, the physical aspect of it, meeting our staff, being able to hear from our staff what kind of work they do and why it's so important to them. And then after that, it's building relationships. And that's at the core of how we're able to sustain all of our donors to this day. It's building and keeping those relationships healthy, and transparent, very transparent. And so these are all the pictures that are shared here today. And then onboarding new trustees and staff. As you heard in the beginning, Paul, we brought on Elena Nori, who is the founder of So'o Chaneli Project. And it's similar to the Hopi Emergency Relief Fund, where they were activated to do to provide assistance to those Native populations in California. But she's also given to communities out here. And so I actually met her at a conference, and we really hit it off. And so I asked her, you know, if she wanted to sit on the board. But it's also, again, an opportunity to have connections and access to folks, to the different folks, networks, because they know people, people know other people, and that's kind of how that reciprocity happens when folks want to come see us, or they want to know more, they want to learn more. But I always say that, you know, the first opportunity you get to meet anybody is to try to educate them about who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And then the rest will work out for itself. The bottom portion is our focus for the remainder of the year. We want to solidify and fully integrate our financial and HR systems so that they talk to one another and we have that efficiency to continue to grow and recruit new talent and skill sets. And then strengthening our capacity and fundraising for board and program staff. Right now we have 5 board members, so we want to add to that 2 more positions, and we do have some that are in progress right now. So we hope to have a full board by the end of the year. That's the goal I have. And then strategic planning implementation. We just renewed our strategic plan last year for another 5 years. And so again, it's every year I have we've had a admin retreat, and that's where we get to pull, okay, what doing that review. You know, what have we been able to accomplish this year? Where are we stuck? What's the challenges? How do we move forward? And every year it's changed because we have new staff coming in. So they have to get acquainted with our systems, our way of working. And then we have those that are remaining with us that can help share that knowledge and transfer that knowledge at the same time. And then lastly, completing the leadership transition. Again, Monica will be fully stepping away next year at the end of January. And then we'll be rocking and rolling next year. So I look forward to that, and I hope you all do too. So Askwali, thank you so much. Next, I want to bring up General Manager Samantha Honani.
For you first?
No question. Really, thank you.
Okay. She wants to keep it going.
Keep it going.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Samantha Honani, Pepongwa Satoa from Tewa Village, and I've been the current general manager about 2 years. Prior to that, I was the interim general manager. And prior to that, I was the program director. And prior to that, I held many other roles at the Hopi Foundation. I've been there well over 14 years. I left for just a couple years to go back to teaching, and that did work out. And I really, because I really love what I do at the Hopi Foundation, it allows me to really apply my strengths and the love I have for my community. And so you can see that in all the work that I'm able to do there, and with such wonderful team members, colleagues here at the Hopi Foundation, but more so and more intimately with my staff. So here we have myself, Nikki Komaitiwa, who's our newest team member, and she's our program coordinator. We have Darian Kutuaitiwa, who's our operations assistant. He's the guy that makes sure when you turn on 88.1 FM or 89.1 LP FM, or even KUYI.net, that it turns on. Josh Sakinema, he's our program production assistant, and he's usually the one you hear on the radio or the songs that are still coming from the crates or new songs. That's Josh's job. And then Nikki, of course, is helping to create programs like KUYI Coffee Talk, or the newer programs that we have getting ready to launch here. So I'm really surrounded by a really good team. You can sense the change of KUYI in the past couple years, and that's because of this team here. All right, so going into the looking at our financials in the past 3 years, so just to be transparent with everybody and where we are in our financials, as you take a look at the blue line, that's our operating budget. And since 2021, which was around COVID time, we were just getting our bearings. We were going through hard transitions, a lot of staff turnover. And we were operating outside of a really, really small room. We literally had our radio station in a one-room studio. And from there is where I came in, and over that time, over the next couple of years after that, we started really getting into building ourselves the new studio, the land space, developing that and building our staff. So you can see how that grown significantly. Looking at our fundraising goal, obviously we've had to increase that to help, supplement some of the loss of funding that we spent on the move. And then our year-end revenue total. So the number's a little off. It does show a decline, but that's the yellow line. It's just showing how much we've been able to draw in to support those changes at KUYI. And obviously we've had a decline of our revenue because a lot of that has been expended toward the big move that we made for KUYI. And we're actually still bringing in funding for that. So I'm really happy to announce tonight that yesterday we were just notified of an award of $20,000 for Hopi language and cultural programming. So you're gonna get to hear more of So that funding is through the San Manuel Mission Band of Indian grant programming. So you'll hear more of that in definitely reflected in our programming. Okay, going on. So this year, our operating budget, if we have one of the largest operating budgets amongst my brother programs here, we operate at a $619,000 budget a year. And sometimes, again, that'll fluctuate. Like before, we had an even higher operating budget because of what's going on in the landscape of radio. But mainly, a lot of that goes toward our personnel, which is really good and really healthy for KUYI. We want people in their rooms. You can really see and sense it when there is a lack of staffing there. And so we're continuing to grow there. And moving on, a lot of the, sorry, Hannah, I was going to the next person. A lot of the funding, secondly, goes to our space. We pay a rental fee, we pay a very large amount of money toward our tower, powering our tower. If you guys heard that slogan before, and that's why we really push to have the Adopt a Watt membership program, because a lot of money goes into making sure that we're able to emit that radio signal within the 100-mile radius of the tower that sits on Antelope Mesa in Kings Canyon. So that's a huge chunk of our budget. Going down, these direct services, contract services, a lot of our work, we do have to contract out for, like, our engineer, for example. Our operations overall, and then finally travel, which is to increase capacity within staff. So next, our fundraising goal this year was $713,000. And that is just to kind of diversify our funding. We are very, very creative, I think, at KUYI in diversifying our funding, not just through our CPB grant, which is Corporation for Public Broadcasting. We are looking to doing more or writing more grants, getting more funding. Our donations, private donations, thank you. I could see and scan the room, and I think about 50% of you are either an Adopt a Watt member or a donor. So yay, thank you so much. And I pride myself on knowing who our donors and supporters are. Secondly, we are looking our merchandise. I'm gonna put a little plug in there. We got those new turquoise campfire mugs. So we're always trying to diversify those merchandise opportunities as well to increase our fundraising. All right. going on, lastly. So in the next year, well, tail end of this year, now we're already halfway, little over halfway through the 2024. Just a heads up, if you didn't know already, in January, we were able to complete finally a strategic planning session, which we hadn't had in many years. So we finally have a document that'll guide our operations moving forward for the next 5 years. We have our Adopt-A-Wat, like I just mentioned. We came from only having 2 Adopt-A-Wat members when I came in, and we now have 122 members. So again, I see some of you who are members. Even my son, if she's a member, you should be a member. Okay, remote broadcasting. We are able to now continue to do remote broadcasting from important gatherings on Hopi, such as our Hopi Language Symposium this year. Continue to build our capacity. That's been done. We've gone to several trainings, had trainings given at our studio, like with Patty Delahumba on broadcasting training. So we're not saying our I know I've gotten better. Let's see here. We increased our specialty shows. So listening sessions like or listening series like the Pueblo Revolt shows and so forth. And then finally, what's on the horizon for us in the next couple months here going into the end of the year is like I said, we're going to be increasing Hopi and Tewa language broadcasting. We did complete the listener survey, and I know some of you guys took that listener survey. So tomorrow, we're finally sitting down with our data guide, our reporter, and we're going to be fleshing out a new program schedule. So what you're used to listening to is going to change. And don't worry, I'm not going to touch Statowi because that was like, do not bother that part. But the other parts of this program schedule, you're going to start hearing that. And I don't know, I think there's like 1 or 2 people on the Hopi reservation that likes the world at 2 p.m. So that obviously I think is going to be coming off. So, all right. And then lastly, recruitment of a receptionist, because Nikki, who used to serve as a receptionist, is now our program coordinator. So we're going to be looking for a receptionist. And of course, we're always looking for new advisory board members. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam. So again, really quickly, CAB, I mean, when you see it on there, it's Community Advisory Board. So these are folks that actually come from the community to give insight and guidance to the program and its work. And there really are eyes and ears out there, you know, when it comes to facilitating this work. So we're really appreciative. They're volunteer opportunities, but they do come with some perks. So if you want to know, become a CAB member. Next, I want to bring up Mr. Brian Humitiwa, who is our Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center, and funny, he's wearing the same shirt on his
Hello, everybody, and I was really hoping that I didn't have to go on right after Sam. As you can see, she's had plenty of practice at this, and so looking at that is that. So my name is Brian Humitiwa. I am the program manager for the Hopi Substance Abuse Prevention Center. I started with the program in 2016, and I moved up from a mentor to an interim program manager to the program manager. So, and I'm sharing that because we're talking about growth, right? We're talking about capacity. In this position, or since I've been with the foundation, I've learned so much, not only professionally, but in my personal life, aligning the values, the mission with the Western philosophies to the Hopi cultural values and beliefs. And so when I first started, we did this personality test, right? And I was a gold, meaning like a gold is somebody that is just spontaneous.
Orange.
Or an orange, I'm sorry, an orange, they're just spontaneous, you know, they don't put any thought into anything. This is grandiose ideas, you know, oh, let's do this, let's do that. You know, and the reason I'm telling you that is because as you'll see, we've become a little bit more strategic, meaning that those grandiose ideas are out the door. Now it's like, do we have the capacity? Do we have the funding? Are we able to do these things? And so now my color has changed. I've become a little more serious and, not as spontaneous, but, that's the example of growth that I wanted to share. So, currently right now we have 2 staff members, Christy Kawanviyama, who's, Salt, Badger, and Butterfly from Munkopi. And then we have Cordell Sakiba, who is Sun Forehead from Samopovi. I myself am Bear Clan, originally from Masangnabi, but I live in Munkopi. So, any questions? My relatives? So if I have any relatives, when I'm done, just really clap your hands, okay? So, what we have for you today is, again, our 3-year funding history. So one of the things that I've learned is that when these numbers are together, it's like we're operating by the seat of our pants. Meaning that we're just barely getting by. We're doing what we can to get by. And the reason I'm saying that, because we're gonna talk about our operating budget, we're gonna talk about our fundraising goals and our year end. So in 2021, one of the things that contributed to this graph is that there was a lot of things going on. One of them was we were coming out of the pandemic, the COVID. The other thing was we were having transitions. And then also we had lost one of our major funders, which was the Auten Foundation. So again, when we're looking at that and all through the years, is that we've maintained this level of operating with our budget, because what we were doing was we were sustaining the program and sustaining our operations to fulfill what we could to get through that year. Okay, and so it's kind of streamlined. I mean, it's right across the board. So when I talk about that, is that our fundraising goals, as we lost our major funder, we went through transition. We were, didn't have as many staff as we used to. We definitely had to get creative and think of other ways that we could sustain the program and cover costs that our grants wouldn't cover. So again, when we're looking at that, is that our fundraising goal, it actually increased, meaning that we were doing a lot more fundraising. We were trying to get creative to sustain those things at our grants. And at this time we had achieved or received the HSAPC grant from the Governors of Youth, Faith, and Family, which is the grant that we currently have. One of the grants that we currently have. Okay, and then so the year end again is with the fluctuations of the incomes and the revenues, the fundraising and all that, our year end it decreased a little bit. So again, when we look at that, that's really what this story, this graph is telling, that story of how it's been for us. So hopefully next year, 2024, when we do this again, we'll see some increases. So, and our lines won't be so.
Do you want to tell them about the health first new grant this year?
So with this year, we received, again, we just submitted our grant application renewal for the HSAPC grant, which is a $200,000 grant. We received a $45,000 grant from Health First Foundation. And then also we received an approval letter for another grant that's gonna give us about $25,000, which is in alignment with the Arizona's Governor's Office grant through ASC. So that's where we're at with that. So again, looking at our operating budget for 2024, obviously a majority of our funding is going towards personnel expenses, paying our employees, making sure that they're getting paid, but also that we're not trying to lose any more, but we're keeping them, happy, so to speak. So again, and the reason I say that is because again, as we know, working for a nonprofit, we know that we're not gonna get rich, right? Nonprofit work is it's very rewarding. If it's, you know, if your heart is in it, if the mission is there and you're meeting those goals, and I mean, again, it's very rewarding to do nonprofit work. And again, moving from the other side of a nonprofit to working in a nonprofit, these are the things that I've learned and I'm growing. And then also, so again, looking at the other portion of it is our program direct expenses, you know, maintaining our operations, like some of are saying, the lights, the rent, the water, all of these things. So we are too looking for a permanent residence for our program, to move our office and grow our personnel as well. So. Okay, next. Again, our fundraising goal, as you can see, a majority of our fundraising, our revenue, our money coming in is from grants, 73%. There I go. See, that's why I didn't want to follow Sam, because I knew I was gonna say, and once you said that, I'm not saying I'm like, that's me, I'm gonna take all your ums. And 16% is contributions, you know, donations and that type source. So, any questions? Fundraising 10%, so we're starting to level out there. Next.
Your merch.
And our merchandise, yeah, we have merchandise for sale too, so.
I have a question, there.
Yes.
When you talk about fundraising and the money for each of those sections there, is that money coming from the overall fundraising or is it specifically from grant people that they're gonna help the substance abuse program?
It's both. It just depends on how it's identified when it comes in. So those are all the things that our development manager takes care of, our person. And so again, looking at that is that as we're moving forward, really getting creative with our development team, but also our merchandise and different things like that to increase that for the program. Because as we know, government grants are pretty strict, right? There's a lot of things that we can and cannot do with government funding. So that's where our fundraising comes in, is that so we're able to navigate and provide that direct service and utilize the unrestricted, utilize the fundraising monies and things like that, the revenue to provide that services that the grants won't cover. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so 2024, again, as Hannah had mentioned, we received $45,000 from the grant, Health First Foundation. And this Health First Foundation, they actually reached out to us, which was really neat. They came out, there was a lady that they met at one of the conferences on one of their outings. And so she contacted us and it was actually the staff that was communicating back and forth with this lady. And she came out from Flagstaff and she was just really, she really liked our program, but she also was able to get stuff from our recovery garden, which I think was really solidified the deal, you know? She's like, yeah, you know, Hopi's great, you know, we did all this. So anyway, and after that, you know, she reached out and she actually encouraged us to apply for this grant. So again, we completed the TSAP grant renewal application. When you're talking about worries and stress that you don't have to worry about, man, let me tell you, I got a few more gray hairs. And I actually lost weight, you know, I don't know how that happened, but, and then, this year, like I said, we got creative with our fundraising. And so we started off with an unmet need of $56,000. Like,
how are we gonna get that? Where are we gonna get that from? And as a result of the grant from Health First Foundation and our fundraising efforts, we were actually able to meet that this year. So, which was really good. Now, telling you that because again, that puts a lot more stress on us for next year to try to up the ante. So, these are just some of our fundraisers that we hosted, a lot of the craft and food sales. And as you can see, our totals there, from each event. We raised this much with our food booth at the KUYI Adopt-A-Walk, their drive.
Fry bread's magical.
We have that magic fry bread, Christy. So any of you ladies want to make great fry bread, I recommend you go and rub your hands. Man, she's got that magic fry bread. And so, what we're gonna focus on for the next 2 quarters is we're definitely, there's a need for us to target our youth population. It's in our grant, and so this has been a little challenging, especially with just coming out of COVID. And the talks and the challenges of the school systems, talking about moving into one school system. So a lot of the administrators and things like that, they're still kind of holding out. So, this is something we need to do. We're trying to fill our mentor and youth mentor position. We actually had, interviews for our mentor position last week, 2 weeks ago, and we had 3 applicants. So, and some of our upcoming events is our Red Ribbon Run. That was actually given to us by Hopi Healthcare. So now we're overseeing that event. So it's gonna be on Wednesday, October 29th from 4 to 8 p.m. And what we're doing is we're having a walk, run / trunk or treat. And if you're interested in hosting a resource booth or you want to help come volunteer, you're more than welcome. Give us a call. We'll put you on the list. And then also our big event, our September National Recovery Month, hand drum celebration. And so with this event, again, we're encouraging all types of recovery, not just substance abuse, but recovery from whatever it is you need healing from. Whether it's a loss, an ailment, maybe you're going through, physical therapy, I don't know, whatever the community is needing, we're gonna take this time to bring songs, sing songs, gather, eat, and create that healing and that happy environment for our people. If this is a sober event, again, our disclaimer says we're not responsible for stranded singers. We're not responsible for broken relationships. If somebody sings that one good song, where this is a good event for our people. And it's gonna be at KUYI. So that's coming up. It's gonna be a fundraiser. Again, if you wanted to volunteer or get to know a little bit more about this event, give us a call. We'll be happy to share information.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so proud of Brian. We've come a long way, huh? Okay. Thank you, Brian. Why are you trying to? Oh, yeah, you can't see this though. Hi. All right, thank you, Brian. Next up, I want to bring Kyle Nuthamia for the Natwani Coalition Program. Take it away.
Okay, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Kyle Nuthamia. I'm from the village of Okala. I'm from Wongwa. Yeah. I joined the Natwani Coalition in 2019 and I moved into the manager role in the later part of 2021. Also with me is Roberta Sikwe from the village of Hopi, who is Honolulu, and she's a program associate. So we are a team of 2.
No.
Oh, sorry, we're a team of 2 And I just want to shout out to Berta, because she really handles a lot of the programming that we do, which allows me to do a lot of the admin development work for the program. So shout out to my associate there. So again, just like everyone else, this is the 3-year funding history for the program going back to 2021. So what you'll see first, I'll go first over the operating budget under that, which is the blue line. And basically what an operating budget is when we plan for the year 2021, and we looked at over all the expenses that we needed to operate for the program to do, cover salaries, provide our services, and just to operate the program. It would be, that's what the operating budget is. And so you can see it through the 3 years, we kind of basically maintain that for the most part. It doesn't really, there's no fluctuation for the most part. Then you see our fundraising goal, and that's the orange line. So in 2021, you see our fundraising goal about $50,000. And then I'll go below that, the year ending. And what the year ending is, the year ending revenue, what that is basically is that through the year is money we raised, including money that was carried over from the previous year. So sometimes you have grants or just funds that you didn't spend through the year, so it's carried over to the next year. And then you also secure funds through the year. So that's what that year ending represents there. And so if I go over to 2021, you see a big spike in our fundraising goal. The reason why for that is because at the end of 2021, it was a tail end of a very big grant we were working off of. I don't remember the exact amount, but I think it was close around like $1 million, approaching $1 million. That's about when the time I first came onto the program. And so that was like about the tail end of the 2021. So our fundraising goal wasn't very big because we had funds secured with us. So if you go over to the next year, 2022, you see a big spike of like over $300,000. That's because we started seeking grants again. We started looking over, started seeking multi-year grants and just trying to boost our fundraising in our campaigns that we take part in. And so that's why you see that spike. And then the next year, the year ending in revenue. And then you see a slow decline in our fundraising goal for 2023. That's just because in the prior year, we did secure a multi-year grant for $200,000. So our fundraising goal wasn't as big as the prior year. And so going, so that's where that is. And so you see the year ending, you might see that, you see that it is lower than our operating budget. Now, what that means basically is just that we didn't have the funds to do all the things we said we would like to do, like our full capacities to do that year. That's not a terrible thing. That just means we need to buckle down on our fundraising and securing grants and things like that. So what we would like to see is we'd like to see that gray line stay above the blue line, above our operating budget. That means we have funds with us to do all the things that we planned we want to do for the year. Okay, and then this is our operating budget, and you can see it. The total is roughly the same as the 3 other members of the operating budget. So again, we haven't really been fluctuating in the and just like the other programs, the majority of our expenses is personnel. So what this budget covers is 3 full-time positions. The next is program direct expenses at 29%. And that's just all basically the expenses to provide our services. So this could be like workshops, this could be demos, presentations, events that we hold. We also have a micro grant program where we support projects in the community with farming, gardening, food, and things like that. So that's part of that 29% there. It's basically the services that we provide to the community. The other contract services, part of that is the auditing that we pay. And then also for the, what we wanted to do this year is to do a field survey, contract with people out here and do a field survey of the fields. So that's what that 7% is. The rest of the business operations is basically the payroll and some office expenses like paper, pens, folders, things like that, and insurance. So for the most part, that's what the operations part is. Occupancy is basically the bills for like utilities, the sewer, water, APS, the Starlink. And these are all cost shares that we also help that all the programs pay into as well. So that's what that that's what the occupancy is. Fundraising goals. So our fundraising goal for the year is just a little over $140,000. Just like the other programs, the majority of our fundraising of our funds that we secure are through grants. So 87% of that one, of our fundraising we say we would go after grants. The rest is donations. What donations is just, donate. That we participate in. We always, all the programs participate in at least 2 campaigns a year. That's the Arizona Gives Day and Giving Tuesday. And that's what that fundraising 6% is. And it's off the top of my head, donations and fundraising, if we were to put that as a dollar amount to that 6%, that's about $9,000 for both. A grant would be about 125,000, part of this fundraising goal, and then merchandise. All the programs sell merch. And so 1% of our fundraising goal would be for merchandise, which is about $500. So for the year, what we've done up to now is we did have a strategic planning session at the beginning of the year. We have not had one since 2019. So, and that's it's a really big accomplishment for me as a manager because it gives us a lot of guidance to our work and just gives a lot of foundation and the steps we need to take and where we're going. And it just helps a lot in so many aspects, including the budget. So it helps me form a budget because I know what kind of steps we need to take and where we're going. And the next is like I mentioned earlier, we have a micro grant program. This year we were able to award a total of $18,500 to the community. So that top picture that you see on the right-hand side is from an individual who applied for us for our ranching project, and part of it was to put in some new gates and fix his corrals. Then continue to support the Hopi Farmers Market. So the Hopi Farmers Market is hosted through a group of different community partners. For one of them, it's held for this year. It's held always at the Peace Academy Center. It's a free event. It can be an educational event. Sometimes there's food demos going on, just educational demos, and it's just meant to be a place where we can connect local growers to consumers. Then we also have the foundation. My mom, Hannah, mentioned the Waverly Street earlier. So we help a little bit in that too. And we're able to help take those individuals around the community and show them a little bit of the work Melanie is involved in. So the focus for the remainder of the year is we are going to have our Hopi Agricultural Food Symposium, Hopi Day School. We have not had that since 2019. It's meant to be a biannual event to celebrate and commemorate food and farming and our local food systems and agricultural traditions. There's food demos, different hand-drawn demos, and workshops and site visits. And so we're really excited about that. So keep that date in your books, October 11th at the Hopi Day School. We want to onboard new CAB. So we actually have a few CAB that are eager to join us. We updated our recruitment process. And so there, hopefully we can onboard new CAB. Again, it's Community Advisory Board. I think in November, hopefully. And again, just help assist our micro grant awardees through the year if they have with their projects. Sometimes they just like us, like as programs, when we are doing our projects, we experience hiccups and speed bumps, and it's good to have someone there to assist us and just along the way to ensure that we have a successful project. And then, so the last one is research and submit grant application. We recently submitted a proposal to the Indian Collective for a multi-year grant of $250,000. So we hope to hear back from them in mid-September, so fingers crossed. But in the meantime, there's a few other grants on our radar, so we've already started proposals to submit those opportunities. And the big one that I did not put on here actually is we want to onboard a coordinator to help just alleviate some of the work off the program so we can just continue going as a program.
Right. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Kyle. I think before Kyle got on board with the program and even the staff that's there right now, we experienced 1 year, I believe, 1 year dormancy for this program, just because of funding for different reasons. And so coming back into play for the community, back in 2019, we hired staff, and they're at where they're at today. So I'm really proud of how he's been able to step into leadership as a program manager to secure funding and to continue sustainability for this program. It's really important, and it's unique. And a lot of the funders that have come out to visit are really interested in how they facilitate their work. I think the Waverly Foundation was particularly invested in seeing how we do dry farming. People just cannot understand the concept of how that works. And there's a lot of things that go into it, right? You know, you talk about culturally, spiritually, environmentally. Right now, you look outside and we're so thankful to see what we see outside, right? Because it's bringing nourishment to what we want to see flourish and grow. So again, I really want to commend Kyle and his leadership for the program since coming on board a couple of years ago as a program manager. So thank you, Kyle. Next up, we have our Hopi leadership program manager, Mr. Cliff Kane.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you for all being here with us and everybody online. I'm Coyote Clan, so I don't mind being the tail end, the Coyote tail end. In fact, one of my godsons is named Uzi, the closer. So anyway, I'm from the village of Munklabi. As I stated, I'm Iswuma from their Coyote Clan. And in fact, you'll see the 3-year trajectory for the funding levels for the program. In fact, I came in 2021. That's when I started with the foundation in June of 2021. I guess we're summer hires because Aaron Sikepiku is actually from this village. He's Breezewood Clan from Panghavi. He's the new program associate. Our program never had a program associate. Over those 3 years, we had a program coordinator and a program manager. But yeah, he's our newly inducted staff of the program. We have high hopes, and he's my right-hand associate in terms of carrying us through this year and going forward. So we're a staff of 2 with the leadership program. And so again, in 2021, you see the 125, and then we fundraised. We got some additional grants trying to finish out the leadership program cohort, which was the 6th cohort. So in 2022, you'll see where a lot of our operating budget came in to actually finish off the 6th cohort. They were a holdover from 2019. And then, of course, the pandemic hit. We had a pause. And then again, when I picked up in 2021, we actually graduated them in 2022. They named themselves the Forever Cohort because it's been from 19 to 2022. And in fact, we have staff that are alumni in our program. We have people who are on the other programs have what are called community advisory boards. We have a Hopi alumni committee. And I really appreciate some of our past members and our current alumni being part of that and being here with us tonight. So, and then we're basically back down to the same level in 2023 because it's pretty much, an interim period between 2020 last year and then now, which is a recruitment phase, a planning phase, gearing up for initiating another cohort. Now our fundraising goal, it's kind of increased, seeing overall the 3 areas that we're actually funding, which are, we actually in 2018, 2019, we also have another component that's become part of the leadership program, which is the Hopi Youth Leadership Program. So now we're also seeking funding not only for our mainstay, which is the adult leadership program cohorts, but also our youth leadership programming. And so you'll see our fundraising will increase and kind of stay at the level that we're seeing throughout with a staff of 2 and that direct services that we're providing. So you'll see it's really as other program managers explained, there's carryover funds that were held over from from the year prior. And again, as I mentioned, we just came out of a kind of a interim period or a closed period where we weren't really having a lot of programming. So we had some carryover from 2020 going into 2022. And then obviously it reduced because we spent those funds right when we graduated the cohort in 2022. And then again, with our grant seeking, you'll see it in the graph that's coming up here. We increased our funding by that 150 in terms of what we got in for the end of the year 2023. So this is really reflective of where we're at for 2024. And these figures come in terms of where our balances are at. And it makes sense again, because right now, as I mentioned, for the year of 2024, this year, our main focus was recruitment for the 7th cohort. And so it's really we're going to start our direct programming at the end of the year, which is the last quarter of the year. So 75% of that time is going and expenses going to our personnel, which is myself, and then the transition onboarding program associate. So our time is dedicated toward that recruitment process, but also the next one is our program direct expenses. This year, we were able to have spring programming for the Hopi Youth Leadership Program. So that was our direct programming that we had this year. And then we also have our quarterly meetings with the Hopi Alumni Committee. Our contract services, as you'll see in the end slide, is a part of 2022, or I'm sorry, 2023, is we also completed a 3-year strategic plan. So we've been acting on that within this past year. And a part of that was revisiting the adult leadership program curriculum. So we actually got a consultant. Those are our contract services. And we successfully completed a comprehensive facilitation guide that we'll be utilizing for our adult leadership program starting this year. With travel, it really relates to, during the direct programming costs, we've been able to, for example, in past years, for the youth leadership program, take them down to Tawa Park. But when we have a cohort, we're also traveling to our environmental stewardship places. For example, in 2022, we went to Mesa Verde. But again, in 2024, it's really to the local venue, just like we're here tonight, meeting and preparing for our direct services. And then the business operations and the occupancy, obviously just the overhead costs of operating a program. We're also located with the Hopi Foundation administration with Natwani Coalition at the Kehotsmobi office right down the way. So those are our expenses for this year. And this one here, you see that the mainstay of all of our operating budget for the year has really come from grants. We've a lot of our expenses and the way we sustain the program for now is through obviously almost 94% is coming from our grants. And you'll see in the next slide, we were fortunate. Hannah mentioned how there's a relationship building with the Hopi Foundation, and we've had individuals from other foundations make connections with the Hopi Foundation, and we've been fortunate to get multi-year grants. For example, from the Wayfarer Foundation, those were huge grants, 92,000 a year. That was to start from last year. So we're in our second year here. And then for this year, we actually secured additional grants. We've been surprised. We went down to a reception in Phoenix, and we initially got awarded a $10,000 grant from the Arizona Community Foundation, American Indians in Philanthropy group. And then when we were down there, they had another foundation, a family foundation, that matched that grant. So we actually got 20,000. So we're very fortunate to have this grant funding. But again, so thank you. Fundraising, that's a part of the Hopi Foundation's overall fundraising campaigns that we have twice a year. All the programs are involved with Arizona Gives Day and Giving Tuesdays. So these really help with with the things that we do in terms of our direct program. Just like tonight, we got served food through the graciousness of our admin staff, but hosting people, sometimes these grants don't cover that. So the fundraising really helps with our general operating support, and it goes to those type of funding areas. In fact, for the youth leadership program, one of the comments they say, we really like having snacks all the time after school. We really enjoy that. So, but we're not able to do that without those unrestricted fundings that we get from our fundraisers. So I really appreciate that. Our merchandise we actually sold out a couple of years ago, and we haven't reordered because I can't get that popular mug that everybody keeps buying and over kept trying to get it restocked. So that's a goal for this year, to get restocked with our merchandise. It does sell, so we'll get it up there for you guys. All right, so the year ahead, the year ahead really is, for us to see more pictures like this with the youth leadership program, more participants. We've gotten support from the community, from the high school. And as I mentioned, the multi-year grant that we received, we had a funding visit, and he's the program officer, Hussein Almar. That's where we're pictured at. And I really, I told you that we're a staff of 2. We've always been a staff of 2 with the program manager. And now, an additional staff, whether it's been the program coordinator or now a program associate, but it's been the foundation that's really helped our program, when we had that lull in capacity. And so this is us visiting the KUYI studio, and he got to meet everybody here, and we actually visited Substance Abuse Prevention Center. As is mentioned, we've graduated 5 high school students this year. In the prior year, 2023, we actually had the biggest amount of participants in the youth leadership program, which was around 10. So, and we're gearing up this year, as again, looking forward. Actually, we're going to be having again the same program for fall semester and going into spring. As I mentioned, our accomplishment is the facilitators guide that we completed that will be used for this, our 7th offering of the Hopi Leadership Program for the cohort. And we've completed the recruitment and selection process. So you'll be seeing our announcements in terms of who the new leadership cohort is, who the members are. So for the next quarter, I think I've covered it again. We'll be commencing the leadership program for starting in September, and then our youth leadership program for fall semester, and then we're still seeking out engagement for our whole community. This is the reason why we have our annual meeting, is to have that transparency and that input and that guidance and that look in on us and the foundation and the program in terms of reporting to you, our community, in terms of the work that we're doing. So that's the Hopi Youth Leadership, and Hopi Leadership Program for 2024.
Awesome. So again, that concludes our programming for this evening. And again, we like to keep in tradition to host these annual meetings, like Cliff was saying, to be transparent with our community, all our stakeholders, our donors, everybody that has a part in who we are and what we do. You guys all have a role with us in how we do our work. So it couldn't be done without your support, your volunteerism, your donor dollars, your presence, and helping to guide the work that we do. So again, I extend my deepest appreciation and thanks for being here tonight, but also would like to express my I guess ask for support during this time of transition. It's a very momentous occasion and process that we're going through, and we're all feeling used to her style, her personality, the way she moves, that now that she's not here, we're feeling that absence. But again, I think anytime you go through change, anytime you go through challenge, there's a unique perspective to look at the opportunity to adjust, to be flexible, to see how we can lean on each other as a team, as staff. And so I'm really thankful. Again, I want to express my gratitude to my staff, my team that I get to work with every day, because you guys all bring your own skill set, talent, strengths, what have you, to do the work you just talked about. So be proud of that. Be proud of how far you've come. Be proud of how much you've learned, and look forward to what is to come. And so again, with community support, with folks like the members and our board of trustees, I really, again, extend my deepest appreciation for you guys being and holding us in this process. Because again, we still need the guidance, the support, and well wishes to continue pushing forward. So again, Askwali, thank you all for being here, supporting us, and getting to meet the awesome team that is the Hopi Foundation. And on here on the slide, I listed 3 different ways that you guys can keep in touch. Oh, there it goes. So you can stay connected through our website. We do post our newsletters on there and any press releases. We also have our recruitment information on there. So in the event that you think of somebody that would be perfect for a different position we're hiring for, please send them our way. Facebook, if you're very active on Facebook, you can see all of our content that comes from Cody and Sienna. And then YouTube, again, doing things like this when we post to our YouTube channel, it gives other people that didn't get a chance to be here tonight to see what we talked about, what we shared. And so again, I know we didn't get an opportunity to ask questions or, take questions from our public, but these are the ways in which you can reach us. So feel free to come visit in person, email, call us. We'd be happy to share a little bit more about what we've been doing and what we've been up to. So again, my deepest gratitude. And I want to turn it over to our board chair, Mr. Kabodi, if you want to share a few closing words for this evening.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. It's so good to hear from, and it's so good, so many of our members are here, our founding members and members who have had a long history with the organization. It's really inspiring to hear your stories of what has happened in the past, your insights about where the organization has come and where it's been and where it's gotten to. And I just, every time I hear any of you founders talking about the Hopi Foundation, it's really, I learn a lot and it's inspiring. So thank you. And particularly Myrna tonight for sharing tonight. The other thing I wanted to just really acknowledge, the Hopi Foundation is about capacity building. The organization does a lot of good work in the community, but it's people who are managing the programs, bringing in funding, managing the work. And part of that capacity building is having people in the community coming into the Hopi Foundation and learning the skills and applying the skills and making the things happen that the Hopi Foundation does. And just tonight, every one of you on staff who is presenting, and then all of you on staff who didn't present but are part of the work, it's very apparent just that growth and development and professional level of management that gives us confidence that the Hopi Foundation will continue to do that good work. I'm just really, it's really, really good to hear all of the good work that you're doing, and just great presentations. Thank you. As Hannah mentioned, the foundation operates off of grants and contributions and donations. And if any of you are able to support the organization in any way you can, there's lots of opportunities with KUYI Radio. You can adopt a watt. Be on the lookout for the big giving days, Giving Tuesday and Arizona Gives Day every year, because if you give anything to the foundation during those times, there's matching money that comes in. So if you can, donate some money during those times, but also throughout the year, it's helpful. And I want to just back up Hannah and ask everyone. Hannah is stepping into a very big role, and some work of leading and guiding and championing the foundation is a big job, and it's not easy. And sometimes it's there's obstacles, and sometimes they're big obstacles. So I encourage all of us as trustees, all of us as members, all of us as community, and all of us as staff to do our part in backing up and supporting Hannah in transitioning to the role she's taken on. So thank you, Hannah. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this event tonight, and have a very good evening.
Askwali, thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.